Welcome to the CDT. I think it's day 82. Oh, let me verify. Yeah, it is. It's Monday. It's the 18th. It's day 82. I just looked at myself on the screen and I'm a hot mess. Um, Wyoming is hot. Like really hot. Let me turn a little bit because I'm next to the window. That's why you got that line there. So I walked into Rawlins, Wyoming today. It was trail miles. It was 24, and then a couple miles to get to get in town and get to my hotel and that kind of stuff. And it was hot all day, and I was in town for a few minutes, and I saw a sign that flashed. It said water restrictions. Residents can only water their lawn once per week. There was something else to it, whatever. So obviously, like hiking into Rawlins, you could see the water sources that are supposed to be there are starting to dry out quick. So a week ago, the comments from hikers that were coming through, like when the pack moved through, they're about a week ahead of me. The comments were water is flowing everywhere. We're hiking through mud. Like all the lakes, everything is, everything's got water. And a week later, there are some sources that still have water, but some sources have dried up or are drying up. So that muddy creek that I took water from yesterday, it, like the water's hazy because of like how it's flowing, and it rains, it's coming off the land, whatever it is. There were a few ponds I walked by that had water, but you can see that they have alkaline in them because they're leaving a white residue on the shore, and the smell and taste just isn't good. So most people don't don't use those water sources. Some people have elected to use those water sources because they don't want to carry water for, like last night I carried 7 liters for not 10ish, about 10 miles, I think. Some people don't want to do that, so they're using the pond, and then they're putting comments in the navigation app that we use that say, regret it, diarrhea within 12 hours of drinking. Like, absolutely shouldn't have done that. And there were some ponds when I walked by today that they're dry, they've already drained, and they have like little peaks in them where like the alkaline and the whatever residue, like cow poop or whatever it is, whatever residue, like it froze in like these little peaks. Like there's a peak and then there's some distance and a peak. It kind of looks like oceans on the wave got frozen. And so hiking by that stuff, like you can just see it's hot. One water source today is a seep. It's a tiny trickle that's coming off of a rock, or it's actually flowing down a rock, and then there's enough of a seep that it's creating this very thin stream of water, and the stream of water is going through bushes and trees, and the bushes and trees, I'm sure, are there because of the seep. I walked up to that water source. I was going to get a liter as a backup, like a reserve, just in case I got short on water from what I carried last night. There were 3 cows crammed underneath the tree in the mud, trying to stay cool in the mud and also in the shade. And then there were 2 more cows in the bushes right behind, like a little bit up the ascent, behind the tree, and they didn't get as much shade, but they were at least in the mud. But I could see cow tracks. It's a steep ascent to get up to this, the seep in the rocks, and the cows were making this steep ascent to get up to try to get the water. So it's drying very, very quickly. Again, they have water restrictions. I was in town less than 2 hours, and we've already had 2 rainstorms come through. I don't know if that's good luck for everyone else that the rain's following me. I got rained on before I got to town. There were many clouds, but all of them looked like fluffy, happy clouds. And there's this one gray cloud that's over me as I'm walking the last 2 miles, like trail miles into town, and it's spitting rain on me. And then I get into town, and 2 hours later, two huge thunderstorms come over and just like cats and dogs pouring rain everywhere. Like they're gone now. Like the sun's out. You can see the sun's out, but I don't. I don't know what to think with the rain following me. I would rather have it be like one day ahead of me so that like all the water sources are running, but I guess you take what you get. Um, I did have a little reprieve from the heat because those clouds that I mentioned, like the little clouds everywhere, they were blocking the sun for like 5 minutes, and then the sun would come out for 5 minutes, and then they'd go behind the clouds. So the last the last 4 miles into town, I got a little reprieve from the heat. But as you can see, like this standing up here is like this is all sweat. That's just it's like the best hair gel ever. It's a combination of sweat, dirt, uh and rain. So like I can move it around and it just stays like it's I'm about to take a shower and do my laundry. So I already mentioned I hiked about 24 ish trail miles today. I hiked a couple miles in town just to get over to a hotel and the grocery store and pick up something to eat and all that kind of stuff. 165 miles in 6 days is a lot. And my right foot started having it has a blister on the bottom of it. It's I don't actually think it was actually from the mileage. I think what happened, so was it 3 days ago? I think it was 3 days ago when the meadow turned into a marsh because it rained so much during the night. Like we got endless thunderstorms all night. It was one of the nights that I got cat naps instead of sleep because of how much rain we got. My feet don't like being wet. So the fact that they got wet the first thing in the morning, and then I hiked a big ascent, and when I got to the top of the ascent, like I changed my socks out to dry socks, but my shoes and my insoles were still wet, and so I think that's where they became unhappy. And on my right foot, some friction had started on the outside of my right foot, and even though I changed out my socks, that friction had already started and it continued throughout the day. So yesterday it started off as like one little spot, and I was trying to manage it, but hiking, like my feet are hot all day because we're hiking with no shade, so they're just getting baked in the sun. And I think that irritation just got exacerbated because of the heat and like the constant sweat and not being able to cool off. So I woke up this morning and the one little spot had grown to a blister. It wasn't as big as I just showed, but it was close. So now that I'm in town, I need to take a shower, which I'm about ready to do. And once I get out of the shower, I'll cut open the blister in one little spot, and I'll push Neosporin in there and get it resolved. I have new insoles, even though the insoles that I got in Silverthorn don't quite have 500 miles on them because of all the rain. The fabric on the top of them is starting to do that roll thing, and I think that's where the friction's coming from. So I'm just going to change out my insoles, and like my new shoes were just a few days old from Steamboat, so I think I'll be set. I just got to get this one situation calmed down. So I don't think we're going to return to the nonsense in New Mexico, at least hopefully not. So we talked about mileage, the heat, the ever-present rain. I haven't got a chance to look at the next section yet. So we are in the Great Basin. My assumption is it'll be similar to what I just hiked, which was shadeless. A lot of it's rolling hills, so like you'll have like, ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs, but the ups and downs are within a couple 100 feet, so it's not tremendous. um like it's not a large exertion like Colorado where you're going up for thousands of feet, and then descending thousands of a couple thousand feet over the course of 5 miles or 4 miles, whatever it is. So it'll be interesting to see what comes after Rollins. Now that I'm in, I'm about 100 miles into Wyoming, so I'm not coming out of the foothills of Colorado. I'm in Wyoming now, so we'll see what happens. Um, the total mileage per day ended up being, I think I've recapped all 5 days, but to include today, it's 22, 28, 28, 32, 30, and then 24. I left out the decimal places, so the decimal places make up the difference to, it actually ended up being like 165 point something to get here. But all those decimal places add up. Back-to-back 30s, that's the first time I've ever done that. I didn't do it on the PCT. Definitely didn't do it on the Colorado Trail. I haven't had to do it in any kind of like weekend or week-long trips that I've taken in the mountains. So I'm glad that my body was able to hold up. The fact that I did a 28 to 28, a 32, and a 30, and my body held up is good news. My legs are absolutely filthy. I'll take a picture and use it as a thumbnail for this video, and I'm sure you're gonna look at it and say that's absolutely gross. And it actually was worse. The rain in town here cleaned it up just a shade. So, any other takeaways from the beginning of Wyoming? I don't think so. The last thing I want to do is the takeaways from Colorado now that I'm through it. The primary takeaways were rain, mosquitoes, and elevation. Like those, you would think that snow would be one of those, but the snow melted so quickly that it did. Like, yeah, in the beginning parts of the state, I had to use ice axe and micro spikes in a few sections, and I kept my ice axe all the way to Lake Ann Pass just in case. But snow didn't play a big part in Colorado. The rain definitely did. I would say the mosquitoes weren't bad. The first half of Colorado, mosquitoes weren't bad. It wasn't until I got partly through the Collegiate Peak, so in the Sawash Range, outside of like Buena Vista and Leadville and those areas, that's when the mosquitoes started becoming present. They didn't get bad, like swarming bad, that I remember just sitting here until after Silverthorn. And that's after like they were, Colorado was getting daily rain. It wasn't just an isolated thunderstorm. The daily rain was like the entire sky, and everything was getting saturated. And by the time I got out of Colorado, the mosquitoes were absolutely horrendous. So if you would ask me halfway through what the 3 takeaways were, mosquitoes would not have been one of them, but it ended up being one of them because of how bad they got afterwards. The elevation, of course, was going to be one of the takeaways, just because up, down, up, down, up, down. A lot of Colorado is the up and down. Sometimes you'd get the up and you do a traverse, and then you get the down, but what goes up in most cases has to come down, especially when you're hiking into Wyoming, where we're now between 7,000 and 8,000 feet. So yeah, I think those are the big takeaways from Colorado. It was fun. I love Colorado. Even with all the rain, I still love Colorado. I had never had a chance to summit James Peak. I also had never had a chance to hike very much in that area, and on this trip I got to summit Mount Flora, which is the beginning of that ridge, and I hiked all 5 13ers going all the way over to James. So Flora, I think it's Eva, then it's Perry, I believe, and then forgetting the fourth one, and then James. Like, I had an opportunity to hike that ridge, and it was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, yeah, I was running from rain, but it was still gorgeous. Um, I had done part of the Argentine spine last year, actually. Last summer, I hiked up. I'd actually hiked up to Argentine Peak, but Argentine Peak, I don't think is the tallest mountain there. I think there's, what's the mountain to the right? There's a mountain to the right that's a taller 13er, I believe. And I went up that mountain, then I went over to Argentine Peak, and then I actually hiked the ridge back over towards Flat Top Mountain. But before I got to Flat Top, I dropped back down into the drainage. So I'd hiked part of that before, but the Argentine spine was much longer, and being able to hike, a series of 13ers and then the Argentine spine with, what is it, Revenue Mountain and I'm forgetting the other one. I mean, it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. So Colorado was fun. I'm sure there were times when I was hiking in Colorado when I thought to myself, man, this is a lot of ascent, and I'm losing a lot of calories, and I'm losing a lot of weight. And I know I've mentioned that in the video, but it was worth it. It was absolutely worth it. It's Colorado's gorgeous. I'm sure I'm forgetting a major takeaway from Colorado, but I think that's it for now. So Wyoming, I'm in Rawlins, Wyoming right now. I'll hike towards what's known as South Pass City, and all we do is send a box there, so I won't be able to stay in a hotel and post videos. After that, there's a few options, and I need to look at it to choose an option, but like some of the options are like Pinedale and Lander, and I think it's Du Bois is how it's pronounced, or Du Bois. And then after that, we go into the Winds, which is supposed to be absolutely beautiful. And then after the Winds, we go into Yellowstone National Park. So from here, we hike to South Pass City. We go past South Pass City up to whichever resupply point. And then after that, it's the Winds. And then we hit Du Bois. Let me make sure I get that correct. So once we hit South Pass City, or a little bit just north of that, I believe that's when we go into the Winds. Then when we hit like Du Bois for a resupply, after that it's Yellowstone. And then we're through Wyoming. It's 4 resupplies. If people want to do like 6 resupplies to cut up some of them, they can, but it's essentially like it's a dart that we run through Wyoming. So I'm excited for Yellowstone. I'm excited for the Winds. I've never hiked in the Winds. I hear it's absolutely gorgeous. I hear there's a low and a high route, just like the Gila alternative down in New Mexico. So I'll have to make a decision when I get there. But I'm looking forward to it. Just got to get through the heat of the Great Basin, and hopefully there's enough water still trickling through here that I'm not carrying for 30 plus miles. And then I guess once we get into the Winds, it will be okay for water through the Winds and through Yellowstone. And then Idaho and Montana. So, man, I'm 100 miles. I'm going to do this constantly. I'm 100 miles in Wyoming, and it's the 18th of July. We are so far ahead. That's just amazing. Okay. I don't believe I have any shout outs today. Actually, you know what? I have shout out for all you folks that are watching the videos. Many of you are texting me and checking in, how I'm doing, where I am. You know, am I okay on weight? How am I doing motivation wise or mentally or psychologically with all the rain? So I appreciate the text messages of people saying like, hey, you know, I just binged and caught up on your videos, you know, you're doing great. I also appreciate the people, you know, asking questions and having concerns, just wanting to check in to see how I'm doing. I appreciate you, all you folks. So the shout out goes to you folks for, you know, seeing if you can meet me in a city, or seeing if my resupply is okay, if I need anything, you know, seeing if I've recovered or in a better place from again the weather, the rain specifically. So shout out to all you folks for checking in. I think that's it for today. I'll see if I'll do a video tomorrow. I am going to take a rest day tomorrow, so I'll double check to see if there's anything else we need to catch up on. But I'll do my best to post these videos while I'm in Rollins. The internet at this hotel, they're nickel and diming us. So the high-speed internet, they want a payment instead of giving it to us free. And I find it interesting that the mid-ranged hotels will give you high-speed internet for free as part of your rate that you're paying. But if you get to a hotel that considers themselves to be a little bit on the higher end side, they want to charge you $5 or something for high-speed internet. So. Or if you sign up for their membership rewards, they're like, here, you can have it for free. So I'll see if I can get the videos posted. It's just, I'm just shaking my head at the commercialization of our economy. You don't need to hear about that nonsense. All right, so have a nice evening. Thanks for watching the videos. I hope you're all doing well, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.